Do you prefer 5A or 5B? Okay, so the next one is this one. Do you prefer 6A or 6B? Aha. Now we're going into the transparent stuff. All right, the next one is this one. Do you prefer 7A or 7B? Oops. This is so hard. Anyway. All right, so number 3B is the choice here, because it's better to have the yellow against the red rather than the yellow against the yellow. And I'm going to go to 4A or 4B. So let's see, someone who hasn't spoken yet. Faye, you're going for 4A. And why is that? Faye? Faye, you said 4A, right? Can you hear me, Faye? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay. So Faye, do you have a reason why you prefer 4A?
I like 4A, just the contrast, but I feel like 4B is B with the background and the line, vertical line.
Yes. Well, in 4B, there's this line here that takes you towards the back of the painting rather than bring you towards the main subject matter. And also the contrast here is stronger, and this brown in the background is a repeat from the little brown leaves here on the teacup, or on the saucer, I should say. So 4A would be the choice. Although in 4B, there's a nice harmony between all of these nice blues. So, I mean, if you point this little thing here, it's like a K towards the subject matter, then it would be different. But yeah, 4A would be the choice. Any questions on this one?
Nope.
I can only see a few of you. Okay, let's see. So moving on to this one, 5A or 5B. Pam, do you want to give us your answer, or you're not sure?
That's what I found was the hardest one for me, but I chose 5B.
Ah, you chose 5B, and why is that?
My eyes just seem to kind of like travel better in the picture. With 5A, I felt that the brown roll, what did I write down? Let's see. I just thought it was more interesting, you know, with 5B. The dark green roll, I liked against the background.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree. And with 5A, it's almost like two separate objects. So you have the mug with the saucer, and separate, almost separate, is this, it's like a little vase that I put there, white vase.
Oh.
And it has all of this big space here that is empty. Whereas in 5B, now the eye flows better, exactly like you said. The eye seems to flow better, and you have three objects that are harmonious in color, and also three different sizes and shapes. So it's a very interesting, a much more pleasing composition in 5B than in 5A.
Yeah.
So sometimes adding one object will make a big difference. Any
Claire,
questions?
I like the composition in 5B, but I didn't care for the salt shaker color.
That's how I feel.
Behind that mug. It bothered me. So that's why I picked 5A, but 5B, I like the fact that there's three objects. I like that much better. I just didn't like, I didn't personally find it very harmonious.
Yeah.
I
Well,
didn't either. Same
if-
thing. I felt the same way. It kind of detracts the salt shaker. The way it looks like the
If
lines
it were
are,
a different color, I think it would be
yeah,
fine.
or a different object. I don't think the salt shaker is good.
Well, those are very good points. And when you are painting, if you have no choice but to see what you see there, because sometimes you're outside in nature or you're going to a class and there are objects you don't necessarily like the color of or the shape of, well, it's your artist license to vary these things. So if you were to paint this, Chris, you could change the color of the the salt shaker.
Right.
And I'm not sure who's the other person talking because I can't see you all. But if you don't care for this object, then you can replace the object when you're drawing it or painting it with someone that's more pleasing to your eye. But definitely having 3 objects is better composition than having the 2 objects on 5A. Very good points, guys. Okay, we're moving on to 6, unless there's any questions about 5. All right, number 6. So let's see. Sherry, would you like to give us what you wrote?
I went back and forth on this, but I don't like 6A. I don't think the salt shaker fits with it height-wise, and I went for 6B. I thought it was more of a grouping of like height and objects. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Any other answers here? Or you all went for 6B?
No, I like 6A.
I do too.
Me too.
It's
like
more
6A.
interesting.
And why is that?
Well, the metal in the top of the salt shaker, I think, adds another dimension. You've got glass, but you also have metal. And I find the other a little too similar.
Yeah.
See, I like 6B because I felt that with 6A, the top of the salt shaker was heavy looking. So 6B, it was all like a light, and I felt that the focus was the middle vase. While with 6A, it seemed to be like an arrow that drew me away.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So on this one, I think that the opinions are, vary. I personally prefer 6A. The reason being that we have a round object here, and we have one that has straight lines, which is the tall martini glass, and the salt shaker has straight and round both. And also in terms of the eye, my eye travels from this lower one to this one, and then it goes, it kind of stops here in the center of interest. Whereas on 6B, my eye travels and it keeps traveling and it doesn't know where to stop. And maybe because we have too many round things, but this here almost creates a second center of interest that takes away from the center of interest that is over here. So that's why I would say 6A. But I mean, one could make the argument that 6B might be strong, but I think that with 6B, it's too top heavy. Whereas here, the eye has an area to travel. It's not too full. So this empty space here gives a nice area where the shadow of the martini glass appears nicely and creates a nice negative space here between the martini glass and the shadow on the wall. And here we lose this negative space because the vase is too high. So having this vase lower would then create a nice composition, I think, but this vase is too high and it fills the space where the eye can rest. It's very important to have an area where the eye can rest in a painting or in a drawing. So 6A would be the choice here.
I feel with 6A, the martini glass being more bold or more prominent draws me to that space.
Yeah,
It's bigger.
that's another good point. But those who pick 6B, it's not an entirely wrong answer. But it's a question of how you draw it and where you put, the darkest dark and the lightest light. That makes it a stronger. But definitely, if this vase on the right-hand side were much shorter, it would create now a nice composition 6B. All right?
Okay.
All right, the last one is number 7. So the only difference in this one has to do with the table. And Leslie, you joined late, but would you like to tell us which one you prefer, 7A or 7B?
7B.
You prefer
Because I like-
7B?
Well, I like the idea of the draping of the tablecloth in the front. I think the color brought out more so than the composition. It added more to the picture. Even though it's probably going to be more difficult to do, I liked the whole thing.
Okay.
The gray into the yellow, and then you have more yellow. With it just gets cut off.
Okay. Anybody else has anything to add to this?
I like 7B also. I think it's more of a complete picture because I know the objects are on a table. Now, to me, it looks like a tablecloth hanging over the edge. So I feel like it's a complete composition, maybe.
Okay.
I like 7A better because it
I
seems
do
to be
too.
more than the subject rather than the table.
Because
I
it
feel
seems,
it's more
I'm sorry.
balanced.
Hold on. I just want, Gretchen, could you please repeat what you just said? Because I didn't hear very well.
The objects are the subject on the 7A, whereas the tablecloth seems to be more prominent in 7B. I like 7A because the objects stand out.
Okay. And someone else was saying something else after that?
I just feel that the oblong shape makes it just appears more balanced to me.
Which one, 7A or 7B?
7A. Yep, 7A. The square just doesn't do it for me at all.
Well, maybe square is not your format. I mean,
Yeah.
that's very true. All right. So this
So
is
Claire,
yes.
I think there's too much in 7B of the same color in the foreground. There's not draping. It's all the same. And as a landscape painter, I'd be in hot water if I left and did that. I don't do still lifes, but I mean, if there was more contrast, maybe, but I don't see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
So it's interesting how you guys see what I put here, and I realize now I should have been more careful. So this towel here that I put under the clothes on the table, it's actually straight. There's a fold here, but the fold is because it had been folded in the cupboard for a long time, and the fold just couldn't come flat. Now, having said that, from what you said, Leslie, seeing this line here as a draping that then the fold comes down, this section comes down, this could make this 7B a little bit more interesting. However, this whole section here, which would be the section, in the foreground, would definitely need to be a different tone, and folds would have to be created to make this section here an interesting section. And like you said, it would make it a lot more difficult. The other the other thing that's happening with 7B is this line here that separates, you know, the background from the table. This line here is almost in the middle of the square. So having said that, I would pick 7A because now we have 2/3, 1/3, and the subject matter becomes the objects that are on the table rather than the tablecloth. But what you had said though, Leslie, was also very interesting, and I hadn't seen it like that. Good point.
Thanks.
So any questions on this number 7?
No.
Okay. At this time, what we'll do is I want you to go into your house and pick a simple object. It could be a fruit. So this is a plastic fruit, doesn't change. So it makes it very interesting. I have, but they look pretty. They
They
look
do look
pretty,
real.
pretty real. They even have the little dents on it,
Yeah.
or a little dent here or here. And well, this one's coming off a little bit, but anyway. Could be a lemon. It could be a salt shaker. This one's a pepper shaker, I think.
I like that.
This.
Oh,
So take a few minutes, go into your home, find a simple object. The more beginner you are, then the more I would suggest you find a simple object. This, for example, would be more for an advanced student. This here would also be for an advanced student because doing glass and making it look like glass is hard. So go find an object and we'll do this. We'll draw this. We have not even 20 minutes. So as you are setting up to draw your object, this will be your homework, is to finish drawing your object. Think about the composition of the object, you know, where it is on your page,
matter what it is?
well, actually,
Yeah.
maybe I should take a look at, you know, what you guys picked. Behind the object here, what I do have this big shampoo bottle that's very heavy because it's full. And I put that here so that I can put something that is completely flat, that is close. And if I need it to be white, I can put a piece of paper. Or sometimes what I do is I like to have it kind of a gray color. So I have this cardboard that I've used in the past. But for this will not go with this. This probably doesn't go with this either. The dark background seems to be a good choice. The white background would also be a good choice. If you have a little table lamp that you can direct on the object, then you'll have some very interesting speckle of light. Or if you have a window next to you and the light comes in from outside and it casts shadow on here, that would also be a good idea. And better for you if I don't show the outside light. God, sorry guys. Okay. But having a shadow casting a light on the object is always creates interesting things. So now on this, as I show it to you closer, you can see right here there's reflected light because the light hits the saucer in here, and then it creates this light on the object. So that's why when I drew it, this happened. This whole line here happened on on the mug, because of the rim, there's this design on the saucer. So observation is key. If you look at it, you know, you can see everything in here. It's almost like you could see the window, and I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, you can see the design from the saucer appears on the mug. So you can simplify those things or try to put them all in. Same thing inside. So this is when you have an object that's shiny, this will happen. This is less shiny. However, you can tell that there is some areas that are a lot lighter, like on the top here. And the secret to showing this light is to have dark next to it. And there's some light on this side, some darkness on this side. So observing your object is key. Now remember that as you are doing your drawing, you can do the shading, doing a full shading like this, or do cross hatching like this. It's two different ways to do shading. All right, so we still have about 10 minutes, and I propose that we all start our own drawing. And I'm going to be drawing the pear, I think, and you can start your own drawing. And if you have any questions, then feel free to ask your questions. One thing I've noticed, sometimes I receive your drawing and you've done some shading, but you didn't go all the way to the edge of, you know, of the object, or and that, you know, is something it's very important. So I'm going to show you what I mean by that. So for example, here. So see this section here, this section here. So if you do your drawing and there is some shade here, but the shade, there's kind of like some white space between the object and the shade here. Well, this then becomes an unknown for the viewer. So you have to make sure that you fill that space between the object and the shadow if it's actually dark in this area. So what I would suggest that you do is, you know, really fill it up like this. So if you fill it up like this, then it becomes easier to read for the viewer.